you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this evening, and welcome to our community that are watching us live on Facebook or social media. I would just a couple of house rules which I always ask. If your mobile phone or device could be turned off or onto silent, please. Councillors, sometimes we have a slip. So that would be very good. A few items to get through this evening. So a couple of emotive issues. So I ask that the due respect to this council chamber be adhered to. Thank you. I call on the CEO, Mr. Dave Barry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. Video is focused on the area from Mr. Britton through to Councillor Forsyth, however audio from the entire room is captured. By speaking during question time or at any time, you consent to your voice and any comments you make being recorded. In common with all narrative during council meetings, verbal responses to congratulations, obituaries and question time will not be recorded in the written minutes. The reasoning behind recording council meetings is, of course, to hold us more accountable and improve transparency of council's decision making to our community. The full meeting is being streamed live on council's YouTube channel, which is Alpine Shire Council, and will also be available on the YouTube channel shortly after this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. If we could stand, please, for the acknowledgement and traditional custodians and recognition of all people.
The Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we are now on. We also acknowledge those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all.
Thank you. Item 3, confirmation of minutes. Councillor Farrell. Councillor Keeble. Apologies.
You're going to get moved and seconded?
Oh, apologies. Yes. So moved. All in favour? Done. Carried. Apologies. Nil. Obituaries and congratulations. On my left.
Congratulations.
Councillor Farrell.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to congratulate Diane Edmondson for the Toowoomba Remembers and Karen Weeks and Diane Pyle for putting the exhibition on over in Mount Beauty. I'd also like to congratulate the Hoppet organisations for running a fantastic Hoppet.
Thank you. Councillor Keeble.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the Hoppet organisation for running that event. Being my 19th, I've got one more to do before I get my yellow bibs. I'm looking forward to that.
Did you do your personal best this year, Councillor Keeble?
I always do my personal best, even if it's not my personal best.
Nothing from me. Councillor Rosemary.
I have an obituary for a long-standing servant of the Shire of Bright, Steve Savak, or Stefan Savak, as he was christened, but better known as Steve Savak. Steve was a councillor of the Shire of Bright from 1969 to 1994. He passed away on the weekend, leaves behind his wife Alice and a large family. In amongst that 15 years, or actually 25 years of being a councillor, he was a Shire President on the 1975-76, 1982-83 and 86-87. He was a person that was very in tune with his community, was a new Australian having immigrated from Europe and having landed in Bonegilla, and was a huge contributor to his community in the Killua Valley and the wider Alpine, or it is part of now the Alpine Shire, but the Shire of Bright.
Yeah. Councillor Pearce?
No, nothing.
Thank you. Declarations by councillors of conflict of interest. Neil? We'll go into question time and I'll deal with questions on that.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was just while on the declaration of a conflict of interest, I felt item 8.2.4, it's worth noting that council is a part owner in the company that it chooses and that it's proposed to award the tender to, and secondly that I am a unpaid, unremunerated director of that company, that council appoints me or any other person it sees fit to be in that position. While not a conflict, I feel it's worth noting.
Duly noted. Question time. I have some questions on notice, and we'll deal through these as efficiently as we can. First question I have is from Mr. Brian Littlechild. I'll just read out the whole 4 questions, and then we have officers to respond to you, Mr. Littlechild. Thank you. Is it possible to improve the lower sections of the Mount Beauty mountain bike tracks to encourage beginners? Question 1. Question 2. What is the liability for defined benefits superannuation payments, and is this allowed for in budget forecasts? Question 3. Is the full diary of events for public attendances available on the internet? And question 4. How does council intend to contribute to the advertised state government review of planning and similar issues? Question 1 is to be replied to by Officer Bird.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It is possible to improve the lower sections of the Mount Beauty mountain bike tracks, and council would welcome such improvements. I understand that this land is owned by AGL and the tracks are maintained by Team Mount Beauty, and council would welcome discussions with Team Mount Beauty regarding this.
Thank you. And Mr. Barry for question 2.
What is the liability for defined benefit superannuation payments, and is this allowed for? Yes, it is allowed for in our long-term financial plan. I'm assuming
when Mr. Littlechild says superannuation payments, Mr. Littlechild, that you mean additional superannuation calls that arise from time to time?
No, I'm talking about the amounts, the difference between the lump sum payment and the defined benefit, and I believe that some people in council are still on the defined benefit. And the amounts are due to be paid by council at the time that they leave the service.
So that's, through Mr. Mayor, that's not correct. So there's 2 types of superannuation benefit, what we call accumulation and defined. They are both 9.5% and are set under the Superannuation Guarantee Act. From time to time in the defined benefit scheme there is a shortfall that arises, and there have been them over a number of years, but in direct answer to your question, both benefits are the same and they're paid fortnightly. They're in common.
Thank you. Question 3, the diary of events. Heather Green, I understand.
I'm not sure what events you mean. Do you, so if you mean...
I'll quickly explain that. So I'm talking about events that are open to the public and open to other councillors and for councillors to attend.
So do you mean sporting events and carnivals and those sorts of things?
Anything.
So those sorts of events are listed on our website, yes, in a calendar of events.
So all events that councils will be able to attend with this?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just jump in there. Not all events, because for example a councillor might attend a conference in Melbourne, we don't list that on a website. A councillor may meet with a community group, we don't list that on the website. Councillors would attend many events during the course of the week, individually in small groups and holistically, and on the website we would only list those ones that members of the public would generally also attend in an uninvited capacity.
I'm sure if you need further clarification on that, the CEO will clarify with that with you after the meeting. Thank you. And question 4, I think, explain again.
I'm assuming you're meaning the current planning review of fees and charges. That's the only planning.
There's a state government review of planning, and it's being held in conjunction, I believe, with local government.
Mayor, can I suggest that we get some further details from Mr. Littlechild offline, because the one that immediately will spring to mind for myself and Ms. Green will be the planning fees and charges review under the Minister Wynne when I last still Minister Wynne.
It is the one and I'll
Okay,
bring it to you.
great, thank you.
Can I just make a general comment? Where we get the opportunity to comment on legislation or changes to legislation, we often take the opportunity to provide input, or we do that through the MAV, the Municipal Association of Victoria.
Thank you. I'll deal with that one later. I'll just go on to these questions here. We have some questions from the Lenka Royhall and Helen McDougall from Mount Beauty in relation to the swimming pool complex in Mount Beauty. Number one, is Council prepared to actively consider the development of the Mount Beauty swimming pool into an all-season facility? Number two, has the structural integrity of the pool been investigated to assume long-term viability? Three, have the potential health, social and economic effects of a year-round pool been considered? And four, would Council be willing to undertake a feasibility study? I think Mr. Bird had some answers for you.
Very good, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So our records indicate that the Mount Beauty pool was about 60 years old, and I'm hoping to be corrected about that, and that would infer that there could be up to 40 years worth of useful asset life for that pool. And the high level calculations, so I guess I'm responding to all of the questions, I'm working through in chronological order, so I hope I'm responding as required. Our high level calculations indicate that having an all year or all season facility there would increase the operating cost by more than threefold. And a limited structural assessment was carried out on the pool in October last year, and that found that it should give reasonable ongoing service, but it was suggested that another assessment was undertaken in 5 to 10 years' time. The next point was around whether a potential health, social and economic effects assessment have been undertaken, been considered. So an assessment of the potential health and social benefits have not been undertaken. However, it is estimated that an all seasons pool would increase the cost per visitor by about 60%, again high level calculations. And the final question was, would Council be willing to undertake a feasibility study? So I guess in response to that, an all seasons pool in Mount Beauty has been added to Council's project pipeline, and with possible implementation beyond post 2034, so some time out. And given the points I raised above, I would be reluctant to recommend to Council to undertake a feasibility study, given the cost. But I guess what I'd really like or suggest, and we can talk about this more offline after the meeting, is I'd really like to understand what is the amenity outcome that the Mount Beauty community would like for their pool, and that will then determine what work should undertake and what it would look like as well. So I'm looking for the discussion after the meeting. I hope that answers the questions.
Mr. Mayor, can I also add that one of the most common queries of this council from external councils is, how do we have an indoor pool in Bright? Because it is very uncommon for a town of our size to have an indoor pool. It is the desire of nearly every town of Bright, Murderford or Mount Beauty's size to have an indoor pool. And I think, as discussed with the Mayor and myself, Mr. Jeremy and Mr. Bird, we would love to have an indoor pool in every town, but there are some big financial hurdles to overcome. Even if we were able to make a pool magically appear, we feel that some very preliminary costing shows, as it does for every town of our size, that the heating costs and the staffing costs are beyond our communities at this point in time. Secondary to that, the challenge facing most councils of our size is whether or not we're able to keep outdoor pools open. And I understand that there's a number of councils this year, in response to rate capping, that will be closing their outdoor pools, one nearby that's proposing to close 4. So, so hopefully that also gives you some broader context that we would love to have an indoor pool in every town, but there are some real, really significant financial challenges.
I have one late question here that I'm prepared to deal with tonight, even though it did come in late, and it deals with the rate notices, and this has been topical a little bit in the last few days, so it's best to deal with it now.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Roper.
I think that issue regarding the rate notice can be handled offline. I don't feel that the question received late without coming through the proper channels should be handled in question time. If the person that has provided you with that question wants to deal with that question, they can deal with it in general business.
May I reply to that? I feel that this woman came to me and she tried to
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I've given the person who has submitted that question an option to deal with that question in a later part of the meeting. It is up to you to decide whether that question is dealt with now or later on.
Thank you. Excuse me, Councillor Farrell. Thank you. Rather than go through general business, which it could well be, or we have an officer present, I will deal with this matter now. I'd like to bring to you this matter to the council meeting in September. I'm wondering how and why the decision of the Alpine Shire Council has come to, without any notice to the ratepayers, that we can no longer pay our rates in full in February each year. I've taken the annual option each year. I have an accommodation business in Bright, and as a result of the many financial pressures I need to fulfil by the end of December each year, and the need now to remember to pay my rates each quarter or face interest charges is another problem I do not welcome. Among the financial burdens in December are the council's own bills for our prescribed...
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Roper.
Can we just get to what the question's about? And the question is about why council has chosen to go to having full equal payments for rates or paying it up front in September, as opposed to the long-winded diatribe that we're now going through, which has been answered with the documentation posted out with the rate notices.
Thank you for your contribution, Councillor Roper. You are correct, and that is what the gist of the letter is, wholly and solely. I suppose it is a lengthy letter, so I accept what you say, and I think the CEO is able to give a response.
Yep, so I'll try and give a brief response to this. Obviously, we recognise any time we make a change to anything, there will be people that benefit from it and lose from it. We have an exhaustive communications plan around this change, but just to give you some of the logic behind it, there are...
Conflict of interest. I've got a conflict of interest from this, because I would prefer to pay my rates at February. But as a councillor, I'd like to state that at this point here now, but I understand why we don't have this situation. So I would like to note that I have a conflict of interest with a personal conflict of interest with this topic, so I'm going to excuse myself.
Okay. So if I'll continue on.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but we all would have a conflict of interest in this if that's the case. And I really believe that this could have been answered out of session with the people, with Leanne. This is something that we were told in our notices what was happening. If people can't read, well, and they need explanation, they can run the office. I totally agree with Councillor Roper. We're wasting our time.
Just wait your instruction, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Von Otten. Please continue. Mr. Barry.
So, the Act provides that Council must offer rates payments in 4 equal instalments. That is a requirement of the Act. We may also provide an additional payment option, which is lump sum payments. If we look at every immediate council, not one of them provides that additional option. If we look further to every council in the North East, there being 12 councils, only ourselves and the City of Greater Shepparton provide that option, so 2 out of 12. The The reason for this change is twofold. Firstly, we are, I guess I would use the word slugging approximately 1,000 ratepayers every year with hefty 9.5% interest bills. So under legislation, and we are not able to avoid this, even if someone is a week late, their interest is backdated to the time of the first and second instalment, effectively meaning that being 5 days late means that you have 4 months of backdated interest. We believe that that is sneaky and grossly unfair and not the type of service that we seek to provide to our ratepayers, bearing in mind that 1 in 8 ratepayers encounter this outcome. The second thing is there are a number of councils sharing services across the North East relating to rates, and an example of this is Indigo and Tawong holistically sharing their rate service. While we have no intent to enter into that sort of arrangement at this point in time, we are prohibited from even engaging with other councils around projects to deliver rates notices electronically. We have excessive software costs because we are not able to share software costs because fundamentally we are structured different from nearly every other council in the North East and certainly every adjoining council. In terms of the fact, 60% of people pay their rates by instalments already, so they will not be impacted. 10% pay late, so obviously they're going to have a significant benefit through this system, because if they now pay late, they're only accruing interest on a daily basis. And 30% pay on time. Depending on when those people choose to pay on time, they will, versus the lump sum option, pay between, if they move to instalments, they'll pay 0.1 of 1% more. We should bear in mind that our rate increase was the lowest in the entire state this year, the third lowest in the entire state last year, and of course successively the lowest in our history for both of the last 2 years. The reason we were able to make our rate increase the lowest in the state last year was through initiatives like this, and following on from that, of course, even last year we had a 9% drop in our commercial rate, 8% drop in our dinner plane rate, farm rates saying the same. So guess in summary, the reasons for introducing this change is to be able to align with other councils, to have cost savings through software technology and basic things like printing, and most importantly to not sting 1 in 8 of our ratepayers with, by the way, the interest charge is 9.5%, which is set by legislation, which we feel is just statutory and sneaky to do that, and it raises us in the order of $100,000 a year. We will not be 1 cent better off through this change or 1 cent worse off through this change. And as I clearly said, 30% of ratepayers who did pay by lump sum, if they now move to instalments, which they will need to do, will be paying 0.1% more versus the RBA interest rate. Hopefully that explains the answer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That's an extensive answer for a question on late notice.
Can I thank you, the CEO, for that explanation?
Yeah, thank you already. Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Yes, could we, thank you, Mr. Bird. Whilst that is occurring, I did receive a letter today from the UK VCA in relation to question time, and I can assure that group that question time will continue in its present form, and any change to that form will be matter for any new council into the future. Thank you. If you could just take that one back to your members. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Roper, for that.
Thanks for leaving.
I had to leave, otherwise I was going to be rejected again.
No, that's all right. You did well. 8.1.1. Oh, sorry. Questions from the floor. Forgot about that. Yes. Sorry. Oh, just a moment. Thank you.
Kiki Vigo, it's a personal question in relation to the rates. I may be slow, I may be numerate. I've paid my rates annually in February. If I pay them now in lump sum in September, given that I've already paid till next February, am I being dudded by a quarter?
Due in September.
Are they normally due in September? They are. So not being done.
No.
Thank God.
I think the explanation needs to be said that when you pay in instalments, you start in September.
Right.
So you were actually 2 instalments behind, but they were all due in September.
So
you paid it. We give you a leeway to pay them in full in February in the past.
Okay.
You're not paid till February.
I'm a cynic, you see.
So when you're paying in February, effectively you're paying approximately, I think, 7 months in arrears and 5 months in advance.
Thank you, Ms. Harker. Thank you. Madam?
Really the real answer that people understand.
Understand, yes.
Okay, yeah,
People
good.
understand,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you. I'm sorry, could you just state your full name, just your name, please, and from where you're from?
My name's Linda Barclay-Hales, and I addressed the council during 2014 regarding agenda item 8.1.2, which forms part of the CEO's report. And although I imagine that won't be addressed during question time, I'd like to request discussion once we get to that agenda item. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. No, I'm sorry, Ms. Hales, but the question time is now. I'm not sure from what other precinct you might be from, but our question time is now. So if you have a question, I'd ask you to ask it, please.
Okay, so can we jump to that agenda item?
No.
Okay.
Ask a question.
Okay, my question, I'd like to have some discussion regarding 8.1.2, which is the removal of a plaque from a memorial bench, which this council endorsed during 2014.
There will be discussion amongst the councillors in relation to that matter as the meeting progresses. Do you have a question in relation to it?
Yes, I'd like to ask...
What is the question?
The question is, I'd like you to not proceed with removing the plaque. It's not yours to remove. I actually own the plaque, and I actually own the chair as well.
Thank you. That's I take your statement on board.
Thank you.
8.1.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
If there's no more questions, can I just make a statement, please? And this is, I would hope that the new council will seriously look at question time, as most of these questions could be answered by council staff without holding up a council meeting. At times, these questions are just grandstanding. Many councils restrict their question time if they have one at all. That's my just thought. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement, Councillor Barnoaks. I assume that there were no more questions. I didn't see any more hands pop up. And we'll move on. 8.1.1 contracts approved by the CEO. The council approved, the contracts approved by the CEO be noted. Mover and a seconder, please.
I so move.
Councillor Farrell. Seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor Pearce. All those in favour?
I have a question. Comment question. These are the sprinklers for the drainage. Timeframes for the sprinklers going in, and anything that they might be getting in the way of.
Thank you, Councillor Key. Well, this is for the drainage, so the surface drainage and subsurface drainage works at Pioneer Park in Bright. The works will commence after the Rod Run event in November. The work should be completed before Christmas, and then there'll be a maintenance period to allow the sprigging and the grass to grow back to ensure it's ready for the first football game at the Easter weekend.
Thank you. Apologies, Councillor Keeble. Good for comment. I'll just take it to the vote again. All those in favour?
I've got a question.
Oh, question, okay.
Just a question to you, Charlie. When we went out there last year, or 18 months ago, whenever it was, and we were talking about the groundworks required at the oval there, we spoke of not only drainage, we spoke of levelling, and mainly levelling. Is that still on the ticket?
it's a combination of subsurface drainage and surface work, so levelling, and the scope of the works has been determined in close consultation with the football club and cricket club in Brighton.
Including the pitch,
the existing concrete pitch will remain.
Okay.
And we did have specific discussions with the cricket club in relation to that pitch.
Okay. Thanks, Charlie.
Councillor Farrell, any further to say?
No further comment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll try again. All those in favour? Carried. Item 8.1.2, removal of a plaque from the memorial bench.
I move that we remain with the status quo, that the bench and memorial plaque stands.
Councillor Von Oaks has moved as removed. So that's a new motion.
Yeah.
Remain, was it? Or not
Remain
yeah.
as is. Do you want to speak to it, or did I get a second?
No, just wait for a second. I just want to say, Councillor Keyboard, your second. Thank you.
Yeah. If it's easier, no action will be taken.
Councillor Von, yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm saying this is because we made this decision last year, I think it was.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. We made it in good faith. It's a memorial, as the lady just mentioned before, it's her plaque, her bench. We said it could be where it is, and I can't see any reason to have to remove it. I think it's ludicrous going back on a decision that was made 2 years ago.
Thank you. Councillor Keeble. Any further comment? No?
Just, please. On this one, this has caused a lot of discussion. So your question about having some discussion, there has been discussion, a lot of discussion. Because of this, and my only aspect on this one would be that I think the Shire needs to have a very strong protocol or procedure to do with memorials. Otherwise we could end up with a memorial on every tree.
I accept that, I understand.
Yeah. So I go along with my fellow councillor in the motion, even though it hasn't been put to the vote yet. But I would just like to make that comment that in the future there may be some tightening up of the rules regarding memorials or memorabilia of any sort. That's my only comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Von, no other comment? Take it to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. (8.1.3) Local Law Number 1, Council Administration 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council is required to maintain a current local law in accordance with the Local Government Act. I believe the report is self-explanatory. The local law has been prepared, adopted by Council, advertised, no submissions were received, and the recommendation is as stands before you. Thank you.
A mover and a seconder, please.
So moved.
Councillor Forsyth, Councillor Von Oaks. Councillor Forsyth.
Thank you, Councillor Janus. I have just one thing on this one, and that is, pardon me, in the notes, it's on page 111. So I'm going to take you to that. Just a wording situation. Procedure for moving a motion or amendments. Item 10 reads, currently a councillor may be permitted by the chairperson or by resolution to speak more than once to explain that the councillor has been misrepresented and or, it says or, understood. The wording I think should be misunderstood.
Right. So, do we have any further comment on that?
Just to take the ratifying.
Mr Mayor, I'm familiar with that particular clause from memory, and I believe that Councillor Forsyth says correct. There is a typo there that it should add the second word should be changed from understood to misunderstood.
Is that correct, Councillor Forsyth?
That was my reading of it, yes.
Yes. Okay. And we can make that amendment if Council obviously moves as part of the motion. Yeah.
That's it.
Any further comment on this matter? No. We'll take it to the vote with the subject to the change of the typo being corrected. Okay, thank you. So all those in favour? Unanimous carry. Thank you. 8.2.1 Annual Financial Report, Performance Statements, Adoption in Principle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the annual financial report and performance statement was received this afternoon, in fact, by the Audit Committee. The Audit Committee comprises 2 councillors as well. The committee participated in a teleconference with the external auditor and heard that council has essentially performed according to budget and to plan, and recorded a strong financial result, and that's evidenced by the financial statements and financial indicators. Delivered 98% of its capital works program, highlights being works in Mount Beauty, and that includes the Progress in Place works and also stages 1 and 2 of the childcare redevelopment, and also improved generally in council service performance indicators. The financial report, though, did indicate a $200,000 deficit compared against a $1.5 million budgeted surplus. But that was due to financial grants being received in advance last year, so we've been affected by that, I reckon, over about the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. Payment of home care redundancy costs and an unbudgeted increase in Riddleford landfill remediation costs, and that's associated with the closure of the landfill. But this variation is accounted for across the rolling long-term financial plan. Council is now required to adopt the annual financial report and performance statement in principle, and then that's referred to the Auditor General and then later adopted. So 2 recommendations, first one being that the financial report and performance statement for the year be adopted in principle, and secondly that Councillors Keeble and Roper be authorised to certify those statements on behalf of Council.
A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Farrell.
I second.
Councillor Von Oaks. Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Trevor, and your team for putting the report together. I just do have one comment to pass. That sort of, I understand that sort of the HAC services had to move to Alpine Health, but it does appear that the 562 is a lot of money for the redundancy. So I just want to get some clarity around that, please.
Mr. Barry.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor. Well, I guess we always pay people their full statutory redundancy entitlements, and would never, of course, seek to deprive people of those entitlements. In terms of employee costs, in 2013-14, our employee costs were 10.1 million, which if they increased by the 9.1% that they did for the previous 10 years, that would mean they were just over 14 million now. Whereas in real terms, inclusive of those redundancies, they sit at about 9.6 million, 9.7 million I should say. So I think it's a very, very favourable condition, and not that we should look on redundancies as a terrible thing that we seek to avoid, but the saving time to recoup that cost is in the order of 14 to 16 months.
Thank you. Councillor Von Oaks?
Yeah, just Leanne's in the gallery here, so a big thank you to Leanne as well for all the time and effort she puts into these financial reports. Just going on Councillor Farrell's talk about redundancy, Dave Barry's already explained it. Going from HAC going to Alpine Health, is the most logical thing to do. A lot of councils do not have HAC anymore. They do not do with home care, and the redundancy costs are there, but as we said, we're going to recoup them very quickly, and I think it's a good move, and I really believe that that's part and parcel of being on council, is to make the big decisions and not renege on them.
Thank you. Any further comment?
One further comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Roper.
Because Tony and I were mentioned in the report, it was inappropriate for us to either be mover or seconder of that report, but the Audit Committee expressed to Trevor Britton their thanks for his involvement and wish him well in his new career at another council that's probably as cold as this, because it's windier than here, unless you're standing on the peaks. So from the Audit Committee, Trevor, thank you very much for your involvement, and thank you very much for what you've done for the Albajar.
I think it's from all of us, Mr. Mayor.
I think you. I was going to bring it up.
So good luck with your new career move, Mr. Britton.
Thank you, councillors.
Good on you, Trevor.
Thanks, Trevor. Question?
Yeah, that's okay. Actually, not a question. Just for the gallery out there, Councillor Roper and I were at the Audit Committee meeting today. Lengthy, robust discussions. You have to excuse me. As Trevor mentioned earlier, at a stage during the meeting, the officers do leave the room, and we have an opportunity to talk to the auditors without the officers to see how much dirt we can get. And I've heard of comments. Basically, the auditor gave the financial statements an A, and that she thought they were doing an excellent job. And so that was terrific for us to hear, and we certainly related that back to the officers when they came in. So well done.
Yeah, well done.
I just wanted to point out it's the transparency behind getting some of these decisions. The officers weren't in the room at that time when we talked to the auditors.
Thank you. Any further comment? Neil, take it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. (8.2.2) Finance Report Quarterly Review. I suppose that's you again, Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is. This is probably a very brief report. So, at the Audit Committee, the committee members also reviewed the quarterly review for quarterly report, last quarterly report, and that was essentially the same as the previous report, or the factors there. I guess the one thing to point out is that the quarterly report, though, goes into detail around capital works, so details them all individually, the different projects, and also gives detail to the departmental and departmental activities by business function and so forth. So that additional layer of detail is there. The recommendation is simply that Council adopt the finance report for the quarter ended 30 June.
Move and second, please.
So moved. Second.
Councillor Roper. Pearce. Councillor Roper? No? You want to say anything to it?
No, as read.
As read. Councillor Pearce?
Same.
Same. Any other further comment? Neil, take it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. (8.2.3) Audit Committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yep, me again. Yep, so this is just reporting on the July Audit Committee meeting now, as opposed to this afternoon's. I guess the main factor there is that we had I think that was the first meeting of the wholly new Audit Committee, so I've got 4 new members. One of the major items of business there was to appoint a new chair, and that's Sue Leibish. And I guess the other important thing for us was the adoption of the health and safety report. And I guess the features in there is that there's we've seen a consistent improvement in health and safety reporting, and also in health and safety participation. So they're probably the two main highlights there. So it's a simple recommendation, simply that the minutes of the July meeting be received and noted, and those two recommendations be adopted.
Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Farrell. Councillor Keeble. Councillor Farrell.
I'd like to congratulate Stu Lebish for being appointed the chair of the audit committee. I'm sure she'll do an excellent job. And also about the confidential health and safety report. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Keeble.
It's the July meeting we had and today's meeting. I was on the audit committee meeting not last year but the previous 4 years before that, and it's there've been terrific meetings, actually really robust, strong debate, and it's good to see the group coming together with that trust, because we need to talk about a lot of areas that we can improve on within the show in a good way. So they've been terrific discussions.
Any further comment?
Thanks, Councillor Janus, yes. Pardon me, Officer Britton. The 26th of July, and now we're the 6th of September. Does this mean they're having more audit meetings than 4 a year, or what?
No, it doesn't. It's probably just the phasing and the timing, but we are running with those 4.
I think the July one was a bit late because we couldn't meet it.
Okay, thank you. I'll take the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 8.2.4, contract to award for the provision of labour hire and accompanying technology solutions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yep, so we've invited tenders for those things, and particularly in the areas of seasonal pool staff and cleaners. And the reason that we've done that is to take advantage of, I guess, agile and innovative technology solutions, and also to take advantage of efficient modern awards. And it's, as I say, it's quarantined though into those areas. So tenders were invited. We had one tender received, which was from Momentum One. Momentum One is a shared service entity, and it's, I guess, a joint venture between Alpine Shire Council and Towong Shire Council. So there is I guess, an issue of transparency and probity in all of this, and Mr. Barry's already mentioned that at the beginning of the meeting. So with that in mind, we've been very, I guess, wary of developing a probity plan, and that has been developed and followed carefully. Some of the features of that were publishing the evaluation criteria up front and advertising them in the invitation to tender. That was done. Having an independent person on the evaluation committee, and that was a member of the audit committee, and also signing deeds of confidentiality and conflict of interest declarations of the evaluation panel members. So all of that's been done. We've evaluated the tender against those criteria that I mentioned, and included in there is price, but also capability, those technology solutions I mentioned, references and so forth. And the committee believes and has provided a tender recommendation recommending that the Momentum One tender be accepted. In doing that, there's potential savings of in excess of $140,000 per annum on around about an $800,000 spend. So there's 4 recommendations. I'll just go through those. The first one is that the contract be awarded to Momentum One for the provision of labour hire and those technology solutions, and it's for a 3-year term, and it's according to a comprehensive schedule of rates. So this is a little bit different. It's not a lump sum price, it's a schedule of rates. And that is because that there are variables through the year. I mean, if we talk about seasonal pools, if it's hot weather, we might open less and have less staff and so forth, and the season can vary in length, etc. Second recommendation is that Schedule 3 of Momentum One's tender be included in the contract, and that provides Council access to additional competitive rates for other employee classifications. tender was let specifically looking at classification 2 and 4 staff, and this opens that up to other classifications. Thirdly, that it be noted that awarding the contract will result in more than $140,000 in operational savings over the contract term, and that doesn't include, by the way, some of the overhead savings that would be realised as well. And the last one, which if Charlie moves the screen up, is that the contract be signed and sealed at the appropriate stage of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Britton. Thanks, Mr. Britton. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Before we have to move and second to discuss this, can I move?
I'll second.
Councillor Roper, Councillor Forsyth.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go in camera for a few minutes with Councillor Zoney.
Councillor Zoney?
Yep.
Sorry, everyone. You'll need to move to enter a confidential business.
I so move.
Yep.
We're moving by Councillor Von Arx, seconded by
We just need to get
Councillor Keeble to move into confidential business, by the sound of it.
Just bear with me 1 second so we can just get the right section of the Act as well to do that. Sorry, Government Act. Can you give a bit of insight just to a small bit so we can get on the right section of the Act?
That's pertaining to the business of Momentum One.
So it's a commercial.
Could be. It is of a commercial nature.
Commercial in confidence.
Yeah.
But no. The issue that I want to discuss is of a commercial nature.
Just trying to find the right section. Yeah, I'll find it there and we can insert that. I think I've got enough on meetings. Commerciality.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we need to go over time. What's the time?
Yeah. So we'll stop the camera here.
At 7:55. Can we stop the camera?
Charlie will.
Stop.
Search.
Back on. You'll give us the word, won't you? Okay. It's like the start of a Grand Prix.
It's like waiting for the bounce of the footy.
I move that we resume standing orders.
Thank you, Councillor Keeble. You were seconding that. Thank you. My apologies to the public. There were some matters that we, as councillors, needed to address in confidence, and it was a good short debate. We've all still got our hair on, and we're not dishevelled. So let's continue on with this 8.2.4. Where were we up to? We wanted a we wanted a mover and a seconder for
I think I actually moved the original motion.
That's right, I've got you here. Thank you. So, Councillor Roper, do we want to continue now?
Yes, I am happy to recommend the recommendation as it stands, but I know some of my colleagues have some issue with some of the wording around it.
We'll get to that. Councillor Forsyth?
Yes, thanks. Look, I have three issues. Pardon me. It's a 3-year contract, and looking at that 3-year term according to a comprehensive schedule of rates in number 1, my question is simply if there is a federal government change in the basic wage or anything like that, does that come into those schedules, or are they locked in for 3 years?
Any changes to wage schedules, as I understand it, flow through to the contract.
Excellent. Number 2, the Schedule 3 of Momentum 1s tend to be included in the contract. I don't think we need that one in there. If anything else happens, as it says here, for other employee classifications, then I think that it would go back to another tender process, and that would be an open tender. So I don't know whether number 2 is actually necessary. Number 3, I think that's for background only, and I don't think it should even be part of the recommendation. No, they're just, well, I'm moving that as alterations, and I'm asking the proposer whether he'd accept that.
Councillor Roper?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
You think you can't hear it?
Yeah, well, I think that's, I don't think there's an issue with removing 2 and 3, so we're going back to 1 and 4, which will now become 1 and 2.
Can I just chime in with a slight unintended consequence of that, which is looking at some of the schedules, they have, for example, allowances, so it would mean, let's take a scenario where we ask a lifeguard to clean a public toilet. It may not be feasible to actually ask them to do that duty because that council hasn't adopted that schedule. I don't think so.
Surely in that instance,
I mean, so it means that we wouldn't be technically able to pay someone the extra 30 cents for the hour that's possible, so we might, I don't know how we'd overcome it as a practical.
Surely if it's a tender process and the tender was for a pool operator, not for a toilet cleaner, then they'd be paid under that rate. Now if you ask them to do something else, you're going outside the tender.
Well, I guess I'm just saying that lifeguards clean the pool grounds.
If that's part of their job description, then that's fine.
Yeah, okay, I'm just, I can't see it being a huge issue through you, Mr. Mayor, but I'm always conscious of the laws of unintended consequences. Again, I don't think it is going to be a hugely significant issue by any stretch.
Okay, so can we ask the officer here?
And that's fine, pulling those both of those recommendations out. I guess just from a procedural point of view, the contract that has been prepared and is the subject of that second recommendation includes those Schedule 3 schedules.
Thank you, not aware of that.
So perhaps we should exclude item 2 as well and sign and seal at the October meeting.
I think we won't be able to do that. I'm wondering if an alternative proposal is to, what I'm hearing you say, Councillor Forsyth, is that you want to make sure that item 2 is confined to the scope of the works, confined to the scope of the tender, that it cannot be expanded out beyond that scope.
I think that's basically the yes.
Yeah. So, can I just flick to something here?
We'd be happy if you could assist council on this matter.
Yeah, so I'm just...
excuse me, Mr CEO. The other option is we vote to disallow the motion we put and then re-put the other one.
Rather than saying... sorry.
Well, see, there's 2 ways of doing this. One is that we back down the change, which I think we need to give everyone an option to vote on the proposed change. So if we vote on the proposed change and it's voted down, that puts the 1, 2, 3 and 4 back on the table again as recommendation, and you know that may be
the way to go.
Yes, because in reality we can't talk about 1, 2 and 3 without being there, without actually making a motion for it to happen.
Can I just foreshadow, sorry, Councillor Roper, that you could modify recommendation 2 to say, to adapt after rates, rather than say rates for other employee classifications, say rates for other employee classifications associated with the scope of works being lifeguards, senior lifeguards, cleaners, and is that it? So fourth one on the contract.
Or would it be more simple just to say for other employee classifications under the contract?
Yes. Yeah. I was just being more explicit in spelling them out.
Okay.
Because the issue could be, what could happen under this is there could be, for example, a ruling that an employee classification changes from a level 4 to a level 3, which would give council a cost advantage, but you would continue to get charged on the level 4 if you hadn't adopted the level 3 schedule.
Excuse me, can I just clarify the whole thing, please? The recommendation that was on the board was 1, 2, 3 and 4.
Original motion still up.
The original motion, which is still up there, which was moved by Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Forsyth. Councillor Forsyth recommended just deleting 2 and 3, and so leaving 1 and 4. I think we should vote on one of these, and then come back with a new motion if it's not approved.
So is it protocol to vote on my motion, the second motion first?
Yeah, because that's what we agreed to.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the table, isn't there? From the
Yes.
Yeah, so that's going to be...
1 and 4.
1 and 4.
Which are now 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
So if you don't like it, you vote against it.
Well, you put a motion, which was the whole lot.
No, the motion's been changed to 1 and 2.
Councillor Roper has prepared 1 and 2 with Councillor Forsyth. So we need to deal with that motion there that's on the board in front of us now. We'll deal with that. We'll take a vote on the motion that is before us on the board there with 1 and 2. All those in favour? 2 against? Or the motion is lost. Now let's deal with part 2 of or we go back to the original.
Start again, do we?
Start again.
Start again.
Can I have a mover and a seconder then for the
I hate to do this to you, Mr. Mayor, but I'll move 1, 2 and 4.
Second.
I'm running out of paper here. Was Councillor Roper?
Seconded.
Yes. Councillor Von Arx, 1, 2 and 4. Right.
And I'd like to take it straight to a vote, please.
I'd like to say something before it goes to the vote.
I think that's fair enough. Councillor Roper, you want to mention anything?
No.
Councillor Pearce.
I was happy with the other one. I just have a problem with number 2, section 2, if you could bring it up. Where's it in there? Schedule 3. The momentum of tenders be included in the contract providing council access to additional competitive rates for other employee classifications. It sort of just rings a bell to me to say that we might be using Momentum 1 to move it further afield, further wider, and affecting other employees throughout the organisation. And given that we've I was going to say moved on, but that's a bit harsh. Some people have gone. There's less cars available.
Sorry, I'm a bit confused here. This is nothing to do with Alpine Shire. This is to do with the contract we are proposing.
Yeah, but Momentum 1 has got something to do with Alpine Shire.
But we're not discussing cars or anything like that. So I think that you're totally out of order. Sorry.
We'll go through the mayor, please.
Thank you. And we are, Councillor Von Arx is right, we are discussing a contract of Momentum 1 and
access to additional for other employee classifications.
Mr. CEO, you have some clarification there.
Mr. Mayor, as I'm hearing the conversation here, I think we're all in furious agreement that we're trying to get to the same end point. So I would recommend that adding on to the end of, I'm sorry Mr. Mayor, I'm going to look at your notes here, rather than saying for other employee classifications, append onto that for other employee classifications associated with aquatic facilities and cleaning, because that's the scope of works, aquatic facilities and cleaning.
I agree, that is the mover.
Good. Thank you. Getting there?
Right.
Do you agree?
Councillor Roper, you happy with those extra words?
Yes. Table in a minute.
Yes, that's a positive. Thank you. Any further comment?
Sorry, can I just, Mr. Mayor, aquatic, because
we have fitness centre as part of council's tender, so to be specific, the right aquatic and recreation facilities, I think would be technically the correct term.
Do I have to do that too?
We'll just go back to straight 1, 2 and 4.
So I think Mr. Mayor, I can say that clarifies the intent of what we would have. That's what our recommendation was, and we thought it was implied from the initial wording, but now we're making it specific, which is that it relates to those two domains.
May I haven't had a chance to speak on this.
Well, I did ask. Councillor Farrell, I'll give you another opportunity. Yep.
Thank you. Look, I'd just like to simplify this and go back to the original motion. I mean, sort of, do you have to sort of specify?
Sorry, the motion's on the books.
Yes, I understand that, but
I'd like to deal with this one first.
Okay.
Councillor Farrell, see how we go with the vote on this. Is there any further comment on this motion as before council at the moment?
No, please take it to the vote.
We'll take it to the vote as viewed on the board at the moment with 1, 2 and 3. Moved by Councillor Von Ark, seconded by Councillor Roper.
Someone read out 2.
Schedule 3 of the Momentum 1 tenders be included in the contracts providing council access to additional competitive rates for other employee classifications associated with aquatic and recreational facilities and cleaning.
No, it doesn't say and cleaning, and there's comma and.
That's
you.
And number 3.
That's number 3.
Oh, okay.
And yes, relating to number 3. Have you that?
I was just wondering what else is going on the end there.
Maybe we'll take it out and
Alright, we'll take it to the vote. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Against? 1. Carried. Just moving right along. Thank you, Mr. Bird, for your patience there with the council. 8.2.5 waste contract extensions.
Yeah, I've got one more.
Hey, you've got one more.
That's it. This is it.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
This is the Trevor.
The drum roll.
That's right. Well, I hope this is an easier one than the previous one. I think it is. So, contract renewal, in fact, associated with street litter bins and cleaning and so forth in both valleys. So we currently have contracts with P&A Smith and also with Mount Beauty Carpet Care to do those things. And these contracts, each one of them has the option for two-year extensions, contract extensions. Our manager of facilities has done some extensive analysis in this area, and I think that's already been or previously been reported to council. But that shows clearly that these are best value contracts and represent best value for the community and for council, and therefore we're recommending the first of those 2-year extensions in each case. And so the recommendation, well, there are the 4 recommendations. Yep.
I so second.
I wanted to move your last little speech.
Councillor Pearce, Councillor
Thanks,
Farrell.
Trev.
Councillor Pearce.
Oh, well, just thanks, Trev, as well, but just Smithy and Smithy have done a great job all around Myrtleford and Bright, and so I know about him. Does a great job, so I'm happy with that. And he's good and cheap.
That it?
That's it.
That's it. No. Councillor Farrell.
No further comment.
No. Any further comment? No. Councillor Keeble.
Yeah, I will say that Smith and Mount Beauty Carpet Care do an excellent job of the jobs that they do around town. The facilities are clean, considering we get a lot of traffic through on the weekends with tourism, and I think it's good value for money.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce, nothing further. Good, take to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Uh, 8.3.1 Director Assets Charlie Bird, Better Indoor Stadium Fund, Myrtleford Indoor Sports Stadium Expansion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An opportunity exists for Council to seek funding to establish a second indoor stadium in Myrtleford. In September 2014, excuse me, Council secured $30,000 to complete a feasibility study for a second indoor stadium in Myrtleford. And throughout that, there was significant engagement with the key stakeholders, and there were three sites identified for a second indoor stadium. One, an expansion at the existing site at the showgrounds, and the other two was an additional single court at either Marion College or Myrtleford P12. The feasibility study concluded that there is a strong latent demand for an additional sports facility in Myrtleford, which cannot be satisfied with the existing facility. And the recommended option is for an expansion at the existing site at the Myrtleford Showgrounds at an estimated cost of $2.6 million. In July of this year, a funding opportunity became available through the Better Indoor Stadiums funding program from Sport and Rec Victoria, and that allows for a maximum funding allocation of $3 million per application at a ratio of $1 to $1. So in effect, a $2.6 million stadium, Council would need to contribute $1.3 million. So critical to a successful application is support of and partnership with each of the schools, so Myrtleford P12 and Marion College. And through discussions with both of these schools, Marion College's preferred site or preferred option is for 2 indoor courts at the one site at the Myrtleford Showgrounds. However, Myrtleford P12's preference was for the additional stadium to be located on their grounds, and they were willing to contribute $250,000 to the project. However, having said that, they were also supportive of the project on either of the sites of the Marion site or the Showground site. So as part of this, we're seeking contributions from other community partners, and the Myrtleford Basketball Association has indicated they would contribute up to $50,000, right? They would contribute $50,000 towards the capital works of the project, and we're also in discussions with the schools and other community partners to seek additional funding. And the final matter there is to ensure the ongoing management and maintenance of the expanded facility is sustainable. It's important that a multi-party agreement be formalised between the Myrtleford Recreation Reserve Committee Management, the Indoor Stadium Committee, and other users of the facility to agree to the ongoing management and maintenance of that facility. The proposed or the financial impact of the capital works has been modelled through Council's long-term financial plan, and there's been significant consultation throughout the development of the feasibility study and in the latter stage of this. So there's been a lot of work done on this project over the last couple of years, and that should all put us in a strong position for the funding application, bearing in mind that there are other parts of the state which have far greater growth than what we do. So it's recommended that the Council authorise the submission of a state government grant application for the expansion of the Myrtleford Indoor Sports Stadium with a Council commitment of no more than $1.3 million, subject to the Myrtleford Recreation Reserve Committee of Management committing to the ongoing management.
So moved.
Seconded.
Councillor Von Oaks. Councillor Von Oaks. Councillor Roper. Councillor Von Oaks.
As I said before to the councillors, nothing ventured, nothing lost. If we don't get the funding, yes, we don't get a second basketball court. That's pretty simple. But this is needed in Myrtleford simply because we've got so many young kids coming through the basketball association that they can't play a game and practice at the same time. They either come in and play the game and go home, or they just can't practice. And so this has been on the cards for some time. I mean, I know I was approached about 7 years ago about this and sort of said to them, you're going to be pushing your luck. But I think we've got to go for it. And as for funding, Myrtleford funded the original basketball court, which is now a basketball court and squash courts, by selling bricks, $10 a brick. I've got tons of bricks at home, pieces of paper, and I'm sure our community will rise rise again and pardon? And really raise some money to go towards this, because I think we really realise we need it. Also, if we get it in, there's a good chance we'll be getting regional basketball comps to us as well. So it'll be a real big boost for the area.
Councillor Roper?
These are the sorts of projects that I think, enduring the pain that the Alpine Shire has been through in the last few years, the benefit of such projects, and it's what I want to see Alpine Shire spend their money on, which is community projects which benefit the whole of the community. So, in along the way of trying to bring our rate burden for our ratepayers back under control, the other part about it is the supplying community assets that the community requires. But for that to happen, and I think Mr. Bird makes a great point here, and this is why these things need the support of the community, and I'll come back to the last paragraph of issues. That the community's got to take responsibility for the management and maintenance, because it's all very well to build these things, but they've got to be run, and the community needs to run them, and the community needs to understand that there is a cost associated with having these great facilities we've got. So we're happy to build them as long as the community is happy to run them, or have them run at a level that supports them going into the future.
Thank you. Any further comment? No?
Just have one final comment. Charlie did mention that funding, is a bit iffy because we're not in the peri-urban area. As an exec board member of Rural Council Victoria, this is one of the things we're fighting for, is that you've got to look at your rural areas. If you want people to move out of Melbourne, which is what they're trying to do, and to get into rural areas, you've got to offer them the services. You've got to offer them opportunities. And I think this council has a good name in Melbourne, and I really believe that we might stand a good chance of getting some funding here.
Thank you. We'll take it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Alpine Amendment C51, review of the schedule to the Heritage Overlay. Councillor Heather Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the objectives of the Planning Environment Act is to ensure that council conserves and enhances buildings, areas or places which have value, scientific, aesthetic or architectural or be of historic interest or special cultural value. To that end, the state government provided council with funding to carry out heritage studies of the Shire some time ago. We have proceeded to put in place some places and advertise that a couple of months ago. We did receive 25 submissions in relation to those 105 places. In relation to those submissions, which are in an attachment to your agenda, we're recommending that 5 of those places be deleted because of further information that was provided, and 8 to be further considered when further information is provided, and 6 are within national parks and don't require management under a heritage overlay. So the recommendation is that we proceed with...
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that this amendment be abandoned.
Do I have a seconder? Oops. Do I have a seconder for the move by Councillor Roper that this recommendation be abandoned?
I have a seconder to hear that. I'll second that.
Seconded Councillor Keeble to hear the comment. Councillor Roper?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really don't know what this overlay is going to achieve, except for make it more onerous for people that own dwellings in the Shire to make changes to them or whatever. one of the issues that are brought forward is that has been used an excuse is the graves in the Buckland Valley. Well, the Buckland Cemetery is actually on land that's controlled by DROP, isn't it? And it's not land that's controlled by, it's not owned by a private person. It's owned by the public domain. So using the other buildings of significance in the Shire are basically owned by us anyway. There is a few dwellings in the countryside. If you look at the history of the tobacco industry, I suppose you'd call some of the older kilns in the area of historical significance, and they're currently being maintained anyway as such. I just think this adds another layer of bureaucracy, and there's another mechanism as opposed to using a C51 amendment to achieve the same outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Keeble. We'll take it to the vote. The motion as we have seen be abandoned for the reasons as Councillor Roper has given. All those in favour? 2. All those against? 4. The motion is lost.
I'll move the original recommendation.
I'll second the original.
Councillor Farrell. Councillor Von Oaks?
Yeah, in part I probably do agree with Councillor Roper that we do get a bit prescriptive. I've noted on one of these submissions that we had, and the comment was that he acknowledges the house is a heritage house, but he says he agrees in part with the response, but argues that he can't find the skilled trades to do the renovations to the house, which is curved woodwork, to enable it to come back up to heritage value. That's the kind of heritage overlay I don't like. We do have some buildings around that we should preserve. We need some history in the Alpine Shire, apart from us oldies who will soon be gone. But yeah, I do agree that we need some heritage, but I think we need to be really looking at them closely, which we have done. And when I read through the submissions, the ones that were actually not going to be further investigation or just dropped from the list are quite valid. Thank you.
Councillor Farrell?
I actually am appalled, and I think we need to keep our history for preservation for our future generations. I'd be incredibly disappointed if this heritage overlay didn't get supported. We have a lot of people around the Shire who delve into history, especially over in the Kiro Valley, and I think it's very, very important that we keep these artefacts and various buildings for our future generations.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Von Oaks, you want to respond?
No, just reiterate that we really need to look at what we do put on the heritage overlay. I stress that strongly. I don't think houses, most houses are old, but they're certainly not heritage value.
Thank you. Take it to the vote. All those in favour? 2, 3. Against? 3. 4.
Last for division, please.
Sorry, just excuse me.
Last for division, please.
Just a moment. I just let me get this right. Those in favour?
Councillor Von Oaks. Sorry.
So division's called. So Councillor Von Oaks, Janice, and Keeble. Oh, sorry. Keeble. And Farrell. Those against? Councillor Forsyth, Pearce, and Roper. Thank you. Motion is carried.
Yeah, you can explain that. The gallery. Someone needs under the when the division's called for, it's classified as a new vote. So if division is called, you can change your vote. So what's happened in this situation is it was 4-3 against, and whereas division was called, it is now 434. So hopefully that clarifies the situation, because the division is actually referred to as another vote on the same situation.
And just to add to Councillor Roper's advice, the rationale behind the division is it is the only way that we can record who voted in favour or against. Through the normal voting process, regardless of the show of hands, it's determined to be a unanimous decision of Council.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. Thank you, Mr. Roper, for clarifying that.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, it was your line.
That's all right. I just want to
I apologise publicly for my impertinence.
We've got to keep you in touch with the rules. Just testing you. 8.4.2. Planning application, proposed telecommunications tower at Rosewhite.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a planning application for a tower to remove a black spot in the Rosewhite Happy Valley area. Council received 5 objections to this and held a planning forum a month or so ago, where we had about 20 residents and had representations from Telstra and Vision Stream, the company that constructs these towers. A lot of issues were raised, but the key issue raised by the people objecting is that it doesn't remove the black spot from Havilah, an area near Rosewhite, and that's the main area of concern for the objectors. We did receive 1 submission in favour, and then after that planning forum we received a number of other submissions in favour of the proposal. The planning scheme really can't deal with where a tower is located in terms of its ability to remove black spots. Council's major areas of concern are visual amenity, trying to ensure that towers are co-located where possible, that health standards are met, so it's distance from residences, and impact on adjoining properties. In this instance, the assessment has been carried out and it's deemed that the tower is appropriately located and will minimise any impacts on amenity and adjoining properties. It's therefore recommended that Council issue a notice of decision to grant a permit. Now, by issuing a notice of decision, that allows the objectors the opportunity to appeal that decision to VCAT. And if no appeals are lodged with VCAT, then a planning permit would be issued. And there is a list of conditions in Appendix A that notice of decision would contain.
Thank you, Councillor Keeble.
Second.
Councillor Forsyth. Councillor Keeble.
I think everyone can agree that communications in today's day and age is really important, and we need to get some more towers.
Councillor Forsyth.
Yeah, totally agree. More black spots we can get rid of, the better.
Any further comment? No? Yes, Councillor Rowe.
Well, travelling this road quite regularly, there is, and during the recent fires we have, I'm presuming that this tower also boosts the mobile coverage in this area, and during the fire that was one of the major concerns of the area, and one of the outcomes from the last recent fires we had was an improved network of communication for the people that live in this area, and they currently rely on UHF radio, so anything that improves, on with my fellow councillors, anything that improves the communication, we can argue backs and forwards about what the right one is, whether it be fibre or the other one, this happens to be what we're going to be given. So we actually take us in this situation.
Good, thank you. Any further comment? Take it to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried. 8.4.3, Dinner Plain Advisory Committee meeting.
So this is to report the minutes of the last Dinner Plain Advisory Committee meeting. It was a meeting with various updates, but the key recommendations or things to note for Council are the minutes, which are attached, and Council note that the Dinner Plain Advisory Committee members were satisfied with the findings of the recent audit and thanked Council for that. And they did also provide some suggestions around the future of the Dinner Plain Advisory Committee, which comes to the end of its term at the end of this year. And they are the 3 recommendations.
Thank you. A mover and a seconder, please.
I'll move.
Councillor Farrell.
Second.
Councillor Pearce. Councillor Farrell.
No further comment, just take it as it is written.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce.
Just it's encouraging to see that DPAC is happy with the goings on of recent times, and let's just hope we can move forward and all be working well together.
Thank you. Any further comment?
Yes, please.
Councillor Roberts.
I see that their recommendation for the future of DPAC, as it comes to the end of the year, it comes to conclusion, I sincerely hope the new council really look at this committee and see whether it is needed or not. This is the only town really that has its own advisory committee. We're all members of the Alpine Shire, and I don't think Dinnerplain needs to be treated any special. Thank you.
Councillor Volley, any further comment?
Yeah, just to come back on Jan's comment there.
No, you can't move them.
No, but I'm...
Excuse me, Mr. Pearce. Councillor Pearce, I'm the mover here. Right?
Yeah. Come on in, Councillor Farrell.
Yeah.
You had no comment earlier.
I beg your pardon, I didn't. Well, I can now. Can I like to reply? So
yes, Councillor Farrell,
right.
yes, you'd like to reply.
I think we have a good working relationship with Dinnerplain Advisory Group, and I think we should continue that way and let the new council make a decision in the future if they so be. I know you've said that, Jan, but I'm just reiterating what you said. So, look, I suggest we take it to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Take it to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried. Good. Thank you. Dinnerplain event funding.
Thank you.
8.4.4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Events are vital to the economy of Dinnerplain, and each year Council, through the special rate at Dinnerplain, funds a variety of events, not funds them, supports the running of these events through grants. And this year it's recommended that a mix of events be funded, and they are existing successful events and some new events. And the budget this year is $80,000, and at this stage we're recommending issuing grants to the events that are up there on the board to a total of $44,000. Already committed is $16,000 towards the polo, and we're also investigating a pop-up ice skating rink for Dinnerplain, and that will be subject to a future council decision once we've got some more information. So the recommendation is that those following events up there are granted funds for those events to occur over this financial year.
I can move.
Councillor Farrell. Seconder.
No.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Keith.
Thank you, Heather, for the report. I agree that it's excellent to see so many events being organised for Dinnerplain. My only regret is that they haven't got Christmas carols. And is there any reason for them not having Christmas carols?
There's been no application lodged for Christmas carols this year.
Thank you.
Councillor Keeble.
No further comment.
Yep, any further comment? Take to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. .4.5 Municipal Early Years Plan. Heather,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The children and families of the Shire are important, and their health and wellbeing is guided by Council's Municipal Early Years Plan. It's a document that lasts for 3 or 4 years. Ours comes to the end of its life at the end of this calendar year, and given a new council and the need to coordinate our early years plan with our health and wellbeing plan and council plan, it was timely to extend this document by 1 year to enable that to occur in line with those other documents that need to be prepared next year. The plan has been updated through the services of our maternal child health nurse and our Alpine Children's Services, the organisation that Council is a part of that runs the childcare facilities in the Shire. Largely the updating is around statistics and in terms of the actions, deleting the actions that have already been achieved. So the recommendation is that the reviewed and updated municipal early years plan, extending the plan to the end of 2017, and the updated actions be adopted. Thank you.
Move and second, please.
I so move.
Councillor Von Oakes.
No second.
Councillor Pearce. Councillor Von Oakes.
Just that this is a good idea to have the two reports in one. I've always said this, we have so many reports in this council, we could actually fill one room with one for sure. So congratulations on this decision. I think it's a great way to go.
Councillor Pearce.
Jan said that before, and I agreed with her before.
Very good. Any further comment?
It'll take 12 years. It'll take 12 years.
You're not required to reply to that one, Councillor Pearce. All those in favour? Carried. Item 9, Assembly of Councillors.
I so move.
Councillor Pearce.
Second.
Councillor
Von Oakes.
Councillor Von Oakes, thank you. Councillor Pearce, nothing?
No.
Von Oakes, Councillor Von Oakes, sorry.
For the vote.
All those in favour? Carried. Presentation of reports by delegates.
So move.
Councillor Farrell. Seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor Pearce. Any comment?
No.
Councillor Pearce, no.
No comment.
No. All those in favour? Carried. General business. We'll start from my left this evening. Councillor Forsyth.
No, I have no general business.
Councillor Farrell.
No, I have no general business either.
Right. Councillor Regal.
I know we've thanked Trevor Britton before, but I just want to personally thank Trevor for all his time dedicated to the council, working tirelessly over the years. He will be missed. We wish him well, and we're always welcome here as friends, so thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Councillor Von Oakes.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, will you indulge me for a couple of minutes, please? He hasn't got a choice. I'd like to say this is well, it isn't my final council meeting, because we do have one in October, but the October council meeting is a very quick council meeting, no general business, no questions, nothing. It's just a very, because we'll be in caretaker mode. So I want to take the opportunity of thanking everyone for the past 11 years that I've been on council. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time on council, and I am retiring. I'm going to get too old. Not really. I think I've done enough, and I have a family that I'd like to spend some time with at home. I'd like to thank my fellow councillors during this time, the whole of the 11 years, for their dedication to the Alpine Shire. We've all worked as a team, and I think that's a credit to all of us. I'd also like to thank the staff, especially our directors. It's been fantastic, and our CEO, of course. It's been fantastic working with you over this time, and we've had some good laughs. I'm sure you're going to miss me. Not. We have some good debates around the table as well. But I would like to just say a couple of words about anyone wanting to nominate for council. Really think about it hard, because it's a commitment. Don't think it's just one night a week and a month. It's not. It's full on. It really is a full on job. And briefing sessions we have most Tuesdays, and they're important. The staff actually prepare these briefing sessions, and it's an insult to them if you don't turn up and listen to their briefing. That's what they're there for, to brief you. It's important that you work as a team when you get elected. This is a bit of a pre-things for those out there ready to put their hand up. And decisions made are as made as a team. So this sort of, I did this and I did that. No, you didn't. We did it as a team. And when a decision's made, it's made by all council, and you stick by that decision and not have a hissy fit when you can't get your own way. And I think that's what makes a cohesive council, that you all agree to disagree. You agree to disagree, but the decision's made. One of the great achievements during my term was the Myrtleford Loop. I actually dug the first shovel, if you want to call it, for that, and now it's the most fantastic walk I've ever been along, and we do it every day now. And we've got town plans for the towns, and you know, we've got a good head start. We've got a great CEO, we've given him some good direction, we're saving money, but we're also giving out to the Shire. So I'm very proud to be a resident of the Alpine Shire, and I wish everyone all the best in the forthcoming elections, and I look forward to coming along and heckling. I come to question time and annoy the hell out of everyone. You know, just well done to everyone, and yeah, all the best. Thank you. Just say one thing, I am not renominating. People have said to me, oh, you're not. Yes, you are. I am not renominating. My husband would divorce me if I did.
Jan, thanks for those wise words to the people, and certainly thank you for your commitment for all those years for our whole of community, not just for one area, but certainly for the whole of the Alpine Shire, which is, as councillors, we represent the whole of Shire, and sometimes it can be to the, I won't say detriment's probably not the right word, but you, in fairness to other people, you try and look as if you're being fair. You're trying to be fair, and you might want a decision to go to your particular community, but you look at it in a broad view, as for the whole of Shire, and that's what you want to see, and that's what we all need to see for the whole of Shire, and that cooperation. We shouldn't let a hill or a mountain put us at odds with each other. So thank you for those words, and I'm sure we will celebrate your... No, we've still got one more meeting to go, so but I thought as you wanted to put something formally, I'll put something a bit formal as well. So thank you for that. Now, Councillor Roper.
Yeah,
nearly forgot you. Sorry.
I've got one for Trevor actually, just a general business question.
Yes.
And it pertains to that fridge we have out in the wing that's been redecorated that contains all the vaccines. That has been a constant thorn in my side, wondering about what happens if we've got a power outage, how many dollars of the vaccines are stored there, and in this day and age, is there a better storage option than having them in the in the Shire office? Surely there can be put somewhere at Alpine Health or with a pharmacist or whatever it is, as opposed to having the responsibility of storing.
I think the CEO, because you mentioned technology, he's keen to answer.
I was going to say, what happens when the fridge goes out is you get a phone call from the Director of Assets at about 9:30 at night as you're driving home saying, someone's rung me and the alarm has gone off, what do we do? And then you put your head together.
Or I get it.
Yeah, or our heads are gone. The most recent occasion, someone rang Charlie, Charlie rang me. The upshot of it all is all of the vaccines in there are state government owned, so if any of them are destroyed, the state government replaces them, and there is a time period of approximately, I think, 6 hours that the
24 hours.
Yeah, depending on the temperature, and they have a profile log printout that shows the temperature. So in that instance, none of the vaccines were destroyed, and we've never lost a vaccine from it. Would we move it to Alpine Health? Well, if they delivered an immunisation service, we'd move it there, but for the moment they don't, and we do it.
It would appear that Councillor Roper is satisfied with that.
No, I haven't intimated that at all.
Well, you moved away from the mic.
I've asked a question, I'll formulate another question at another time.
Very good. Councillor Peters?
Yeah, again, good old Trev, but worked with him nearly 11 years, it's been fantastic, and good luck in Torquay, and I know he's going. We won't know till noon on the 20th September whether Councillor Von Arx is hanging up her rose.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
We have little faith.
And I have no general business myself. Now we have reception and reading of petitions, and I know Mr. Stapleton is isn't, and
Please can I move that we actually write a letter supporting the name change, because if we actually receive this petition, it should stay on the table for a month. We don't discuss it in October, that means it'll be till the end of November, but I think we can offer a letter of support.
We'll move standing orders to hear from Mr. Stapleton.
Well, I suppose we could if the mayor allows it. I haven't spoken
Well, that's what I prefer to do in the first place.
councillors, are we happy to deal with this matter now?
Yes.
I'm happy. I'd love to hear.
I'm happy to allow that to happen now.
And would you support Mr. Stapleton speaking to his?
I absolutely would support Mr. Stapleton's words.
Did I get a seconder for my things?
Oh, sorry. That was, yes. So they're all in favour. All those in favour of dealing with the matter now.
Mr. Stapleton's first.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Mr. Stapleton, if you would care to address the council.
Well, just like we want to preserve posterity on the internet.
Okay. I've come here tonight to present a petition to the council to seek support from you for a campaign to change the name of Mount Cope back to its original name of Mount Jack. I have circulated you with a bit of a thing about this. Would you like me to expand on that, or you ask questions, or
Expand on it, I think, there.
okay? Well, if we go back to 1851, the Grey family were wiped out in the extensive fires of that year. They put a large mob of cattle on the road in a desperate search for feed. They ended up at Tolangata, or where Tolangata now is, with a fairly big bunch of family members and two people who were stockmen at the time who later married into the family, and that was a fellow called Jack Wells and a fellow called Jim Brown. They fell in with a bloke called Larney, an Aboriginal called Larney near Tolangata. He told them of a place where there was grass up to the horses' bellies for acre after acre as far as the eye could see, and that he would take them there. So he guided them all the way up the Midder and into the Jib and out to Benambra, and then across to the Bingo Gap, into the Bundar and up onto Kabungra, where they found, exactly as he had promised, an enormous amount of feed. The Grey family selected and settled there. Larney stayed with them for apparently a month or so, and before he left he showed them the spur that goes up from the Bundar Valley up onto the Buckety High Plains, and then up onto the Bogong High Plains, actually comes out Mount Jack or Mount Cope. So late 1851 or early 1852, Jack Wells and Jim Brown went up to have a look and said what he was talking about. Larney didn't go up with them. They discovered they were the first recorded Europeans onto the Bogong High Plains. They had a fabulous day riding around naming all the peaks. They were the sons of convicts and uneducated, but they came up with these fabulous names, including Feathertop, Fainter, Blowhard, Razorback, and many of the names that we use today were their work. At the end of the day they went back home, and the last two peaks that they named were Mount Jack and Mount Jim, after themselves. Mount Jim is still there, well, they both are still there, but the name of Mount Jim is still there, and the name of Jack was clandestinely removed late 1800s, early 1900s, and it appears nobody was consulted in the mountains. That it had been called Mount Jack for 40 or so years, and suddenly maps started coming out with Mount Cope on them. And it took them about 20 years to work out where this had come from, and it turns out there was a judge in Beechworth called Judge Cope, who we thought had died, and his family may have organised to put this on the map, but it turns out there are maps earlier than we thought with Mount Cope on them, so it happened before Judge Cope died. Then the cattlemen up there at the time were not impressed with this, and all of the old cattlemen stuck to Mount Jack to their last dying breath. And it's been known as Mount Jack in the mountain community for over 160 years. but on the maps today it's always called Mount Cope. It is on the boundary between the Alpine Shire and the East Gippsland Shire, so it's a bit complicated. And in the 1920s the Ski Club of Victoria came along and built a hut nearby, and because of the name Mount Cope they called their hut Cope Hut, which we all know of. Then the SEC came along in the 1930s and 40s and built Cope Aqueduct and named Cope Creek, Cope Saddle and Cope Saddle Hut. So for a fellow who never went anywhere near the place, he's doing pretty well. And I did promise a lot of the old mountain cattlemen who are now long gone that I would try at some point to get their beloved Mount Jack back. I don't think there's any need to try and change the name of Cope Hut or Cope Creek or any of the other copes, but it is a very important part of our history. They are major players in the pioneering days of our area here, and it is wrong to me to have Mount Jim still there and Mount Jack called something else after somebody who'd never had anything to do with it. So we have looked in fairly extensively through Russell Mullett, who is the Aboriginal heritage expert that the parks go to every time there's an issue up there, and he assures me that even though there would have been an Aboriginal name for Mount Jack, there is no recorded name known today. So it seems to me that it's a competition between Mount Cope and Mount Jack, and it seems to be a no-brainer. But we have had a petition going for the last fortnight or so. There's 1,100 signatures here, and probably another 200 or 300 caught up in what's left of our mailing system, and there's 15 letters of support here. So there is widespread support through all of the mountain towns. Omeo, Dargo, Bright, Harriettville, Myrtleford, Toowoomba and Mount Beauty have all had a contribution to this, and I would like to put it to you that you consider writing a letter of support for us to go on to the East Gippsland Shire and then approach the parks to be the naming authority to take the issue to the Geographical Place Names body in Melbourne. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Can we clone you somehow? I don't know how we're going to keep you immortalised with your history of this area. It's absolutely unbelievable. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks very much for that. And I fully support, and I'm sure my councillors support, a letter, an appropriately worded letter probably from myself, or at this point, yes, from myself, on behalf of council to support that renaming into the future. And I know it's going to take some time. There's a lot of bureaucracy in there, but at least you've had the wherefore to start the process, and we support you fully in hope that it comes to fruition. So thanks very much, Mr. Staple.
Thank you very much. What do I do with it?
Present them. If you walk this way, you'll be on camera, and then everyone can look at you.
Yes, bring it up here, Mr.
Present it. Walk around the front.
Present it here, sir. One of the few people I allow to walk so close to this hallowed stage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Should we have a motion?
The motion's there that councillors in letter of support for the name change.
Done. So the motion is that the council submit a letter of support for the name change from Mount Cope to Mount Jack.
Back to Mount Jack.
Back to Mount Jack. All those in favour? Carried unanimous. Thank you. Documents for sealing.
I so move.
Councillor Von Arch.
I'll second.
Councillor Farrell. It is now 2 minutes past 9. There is no further business in this council meeting. I thank you for your patience tonight. It's been a bit of an unusual evening. We will go into caretaker mode on the 21st of September, and there are certain protocols around all of that. But in the meantime, we are still your active councillors. I wish you safe journeys home. I know some of you have to go back across that hill. And thank you to those people on YouTube and social media who have stayed so late looking. I hope you haven't used up all your megabytes or whatever they are just to view this. So thank you very much and good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Recording closed.